Welcome to Sun Connection. Today I want to talk about a fascinating subject, Mercury retrograde. So I'd like to dive into this topic with you because it's a topic that has been gaining more attention lately, and there's many people I've met who actually write the dates of Mercury retrograde into their calendar, which is a great practice. But I've also noticed that some people tend to shy away from certain activities during this time. It's like, ooh, ah, doom time, dangerous time is coming up. And really, Mercury retrograde has nothing negative to bring to the table, and there is nothing to fear. I I have a friend who recently declined a date with someone he met online just because he wanted to wait until after Mercury would be retrograde. And I think there's too much superstition that is being built around the Mercury retrograde. And this is why I want to do this video, because I feel the need to say a couple of words about it. Because I don't think anyone should let a planet dictate how we live our life. It's like if you were telling me, Renee, I'm not going out of my house tomorrow because there is a full moon. Well, guess what? There will be a full moon every single month. So it's great to know what it means. It's great to learn how to use the energy. But truly, guys, we cannot stop living just because there is a planetary cycle happening in the sky. So here I am, why Mercury retrograde motion isn't always bad. And let's do it. So let's imagine for a second that we are standing on the sun. I know it's hot, I know it's not necessarily possible, but let's pretend we can. If we sit on the sun and we are standing and we look at all the planets, including Earth, we will simply notice that all the planet moves in a perfect circular motions. The planets will make perfect rounds around us. Now, if we move back to Earth and we stand up on Earth and we look at the same planet, we will notice that those circles are not perfectly round. Instead, they will have an oval shape. It will be an ellipse, a little bit like the shape of a rugby ball. So from Earth, when we see the planet arriving at the outer edge of the ellipse, this is when we are going to have the perception that the planet is moving backward. But it's an optical illusion, because the planet is not moving backward. The planet is actually following its path in space. And this movement is what we call the retrogradation. It's the retrograde. And by the way, all the planets retrograde. So let's focus on Mercury. Mercury goes into retrograde motion 3 times a year, and it's normally for about 3 weeks. And during this period, we often see errors in communication. There are lots of technology mishaps. There's general confusion, and there is the general feeling that things are a little bit disorganized. There can be some disruption or misunderstanding with people. But it's not all doom and gloom. Again, I repeat, there's positive things about this. So first, let's quickly talk about why we associate communication and issues with contract and transport and technology to Mercury. In the Roman mythology, Mercury, which was also Hermes in the Greek mythology, that character, that god, was actually the messenger of the gods. He was bridging the gap between the divine and the mortal. And he was also known for his tricks and communication skills. So this is why in astrology today we associate Mercury to the aspects of commerce, travel, and yes, also tricks and trickery. So communication, commerce, travel, and trickeries. Now, when Mercury goes retrograde, these areas of our life can be affected, but it also serves a time to slow down, to be mindful, to pay attention to detail, and to adapt to changing circumstances. Really, when Mercury goes in retrograde, this is the time where we're supposed to slow down. Slowing down does not mean withdraw. We still need to listen to our intuition and feelings, And we should not prevent ourselves to live our life just because there is an astrological alignment. So during a Mercury retrograde, it's wise to exercise caution, avoid making impulsive decisions, and to focus on reevaluating and reorganizing aspects of our life. But it's definitely not the best time to make a major announcement, launch a book, or do things, communicating things that are to be. Because again, it's a period of reflection and reassessment. And it's a period where people's mind associate Mercury with the brain, people's brain kind of rest, right? So everybody's mind is resting, and therefore they are not as sharp as usual. And to that extent, they might be missing important information which cause all the communication issues. Now, it's also a chance to, when Mercury is in retrograde, it's a chance to slow down. We spoke about this, but it's also a chance to reconnect with loved one and also to work on the project that you have started but have never finished. So here is the essence of a Mercury retrograde: having a bit of a breath, having a bit of a pause, and reassess things. Now, one thing that we never really mention, and that is super important when we talk about Mercury retrograde, we need to look at the element. We have 4 elements in astrology: fire, earth, air, and water. And Mercury is going to retrograde in a different sign most of the time. And every time it's going to retrograde, it's going to be in a different element. And that element is key for the understanding on how the energy is going to manifest. So I suggest we quickly go through each of them, and I'm going to give you a simple analogy to remember how it will play with you, so you don't get scared about the next Mercury retrogradation. So each element will influence and add different layers of complexity. Let's start with fire sign. So if I talk about a fire sign, you should picture fire. Take a gas cooktop. And if I talk about Mercury, which is the planet of communication, your ideas, your mind, and how you process information. Let's think about your brain. Now, put your brain into a pressure cooker. What are you going to have? All your ideas are going to be bubbling up. And during this time, you'll be stirring the pot. It's going to be super hard to stay calm and focus, because anything you want with a Mercury in a fire sign is excitement and passion in your life. During this time, all your entrepreneurial spirit will be ignited, and you are going to have the ones to give life to your dreams and to your ideas. This is the time where you probably want to explore new things. You are done with routine. You want to try new things. You want to get creative. You want to break free from the day-to-day. But guess what? Mercury is in retrograde. So there's a challenge here. The energy is going backward. So on one hand, you want all those things. And on the other hand, you need to find the right outlet for all this fiery energy to be channeled. And that's where the trick is. It's a time to pause. It's a time to reassess your goals. It's a time for you to learn and to find ways to calm your mind. So there's many ways for that. One of them is meditation. And by the way, meditation is applicable for each element. But if you have a lot of fire energy, good luck to meditate with a Mercury retrograde in a fire sign. So maybe you can go for other way to channel this energy, like sport. We can go for a run, or you find physical activities that help you calm your mind. And also, with a Mercury retrograde in a fire sign, communication will be fiery. It's going to be prone to conflict, to discussion, to fights, really, because the fire is going to be associated with the passion, with the fieriness of interaction with people. And therefore, during this time, you need to learn how to cool down your mind. So your mantra, if you were to think about a mantra for a Mercury retrograde in a fire sign, could be, if we continue with the analogy of the pressure cooker, it's please help me find the pressure cooker valve so I don't go into a tantrum. Now, let's have a look at Mercury retrograde into an air sign. So same process of analyzing. If I'm talking about an air sign, think about the sky and think about the clouds. Mercury is your communication, your ideas, your mind, and how you process the information. So think about putting your brain into a balloon and you pump up this balloon with helium. What's going to happen? Your thoughts are going to be scattered. Your mind will be disconnected from your body. Your mind will be up in the clouds, and it's going to be quite tough for you to find stability and focus. This is a phase that could very much bring a lot of confusion and the lack of concentration and the communication that is unclear. You may say things and you can forget them. So this is the time where a Mercury into an air sign will be marking a lot of delays, and where you are going to feel that things are not falling into place. So it's very important for you during this time to find a way to clear your head. It's a way for you to ground yourself. And again, you can use meditation for that, but you can also help yourself by knowing that this energy is coming. Knowing that this energy is coming, just help yourself. Why do you have to remember everything? Just write it down. Use notes. Back up your emails. Everything you say, try to document it. And if your job and if your day-to-day requires you to do multitasking, well, maybe it's time to slow down and do one task at a time, because the more multitasking you will be doing during this period will cause a lot more distractions and will lead to errors. So with a Mercury retrograde into an air sign, you take a deep breath, you embrace the flow of ideas, you write them down. And if I want to take the analogy of my helium balloon, if you had a child with an helium balloon, you would take a string and you would tie it to his wrist so he doesn't lose this balloon. Do the same for yourself with your thought and with your ideas. Now, let's move to Mercury retrograde into an earth sign. Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Earth, think about earth, something that you can touch, something that is real, something that is material. So put your brain and your communication and your mind and the information that you process into a down-to-earth thinking. This is a time of practicality. There's no room for approximate. Here your mind is asking 1 + 1 = 2. They want to have real things that you can touch, assess. And this is where your mind is going to be particularly resourceful. So during a Mercury retrograde in an earth sign, that's where you are going to be reassessing every department of your life that can be a bit loose. You might be questioning your finance. You might be look at your health. You might be starting to take a pen and paper and look at future plans. That might be the time where you look at your CV again and think about your career. It's anything to do with your self-worth. So this is a perfect time for you to reassess your day-to-day, right? And it's a perfect time as well to reassess your lifestyle and make sure that whatever you do is actually sustainable. That's the time where you picture your goal. So the change that you will be thinking about is going to be probably around your saving, your career, and what are the steps that you can make to do adjustment. It's also a time where you might be looking at your banking and restructuring your investments and your finance and your well-being. So this is very much the essence of a Mercury retrograde into an earth sign. And also earth signs can also be linked to your health. So it could also be a time where you decide to stop smoking or stop drinking or go back to go back to sport or healthy practice. So a mantra for you with a Mercury retrograde into an earth sign is to practice patience and to ensure that your communication is clear. And finally, let's look at Mercury into a water sign. The water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So again, let's look at the same analogies I have taken earlier. Water sign, think about the ocean. Mercury, your brain, your communication, your mind, the way you process information. Think about your brain. You are here putting your Mercury into the water. You are going to the Great Barrier Reef to scuba dive. That's a great analogy. And you are diving deep into emotions and intuitions. You are on your own snorkeling. That's very much of a Mercury retrograde into a water sign. It is time for self-reflection. It is time to connect with your inner feeling. And if you feel sad and sensitive, it's okay, because that's a time where you will be in your own, in the water, and no one will see your tears under the water. Mercury is in retrograde. So here you have to be careful, because the energy is going backward. It's not flowing. So at the same time, during that time, it can be also a source of reflection, but a source of reflection and inspiration. But it can also be a period where you may be struggling emotionally. So what's important with a Mercury retrograde into a water sign is to look after yourself. As you dive through your emotion, you need to zip as much oxygen as you can to push away all the negative thoughts that come to your mind. This means that the oxygen here means that you don't want, or you should not, entertain negative thoughts. Think about the positive sides of life. There's always two sides of a coin. And even when things are super dark, there's always part of it that was necessary for your growth, for your evolution, and there's always something positive in any situation. So with a Mercury retrograde into a water sign, you need to engage into calming activities. Swimming is perfect. We are dealing with the realm of water. Meditation is applicable for all of them. But you can also connect with nature. Nature is one of the biggest source of energy that you can get for yourself, you know. So that's it. I've covered the 4 elements. I just would like to touch on my friends and his date. Next time Mercury will be retrograde in 2024 is going to be into a fire sign. So we already discussed that when a Mercury in a fire sign, there is a lot of chance for excitement and getting out of routine. But the fire can also be associated with passion, and that can lead to argument, understanding, and frustration. So is it a good idea for my friend to go on a date with a Mercury retrograde or just after a Mercury retrograde? I think yes. I think he still should go, because it's a way to explore new adventure and to have fun. But it's not necessarily the best time to start a serious relationship and get into a relationship where he has to make a compromise. I think nowadays it's okay for someone to go out just for fun, as long as the person is honest, open, respectful, and set realistic expectations for themselves and for the person they meet. So as long as there is mutual consent, there's nothing wrong. Ultimately, with a Mercury retrograde, there can be a lot of challenges. We are not going to deny this. But it also provides an opportunity for growth, self-reflection, and redirection. Remember, the planet may influence us, but it's essential to maintain control over our path and decision. So don't be afraid to go out. Don't be afraid to date during Mercury retrograde. I hope this video helped you better understand how Mercury retrograde works. Thank you for listening to me. Let's use astrology to illuminate your path to happiness and growth.